The FTX bankruptcy is probably the worst one this year, and we're going to see a lot of the ripple effects coming into 2023. So in this video, I want to show you the frameworks that I use to avoid all of these meltdowns in the first place. Now, if you don't know what's happening, here's a 30-second rundown of what happened in the past few days. FTX is the second biggest exchange in the world, right behind Binance. And what they were doing is they were using the funds from their customers and gambling that into the crypto markets. And obviously that's not safe and not legal, but this is exactly what the banks do today, right? So if you open a savings account, the bank takes that money in your savings account and loans it out to somebody else that needs a mortgage. And this is called fractional reserve banking. So in FTX's case, they were doing the same exact thing. The only difference is that banks are regulated by the government. So if anything bad happens, like if, like what happened in 2008, when shit hits the fan, the banks get bailed out by the government, right? FTX doesn't have that option because there's no bank or there's no government backing them. The reason I came out of 2022 mostly unscathed is because I invest in crypto based on their use cases. When people hear about crypto, most of the time what they think about is that it's just money or magic internet money. And yeah, it could be that, but ultimately it's a technology. Here's one of the use cases for crypto that I think has a lot of potential in the future. So if you think about the Kardashians, right? So Kylie Jenner was on the Forbes, billionaires list as the youngest billionaire ever, right? And how did she get that status? She became a billionaire at 21, right? And her net worth was based on her cosmetics business, Kylie Cosmetics. That's valued at 1.2 billion. So she sold half of that for $600 million. And when you ask people like, hey, what do you think her most valuable asset is? Most people will tell you that it's her business, obviously, right? Because she sold it for 600 million. But that's not true. Her most valuable business is her Instagram account. And that's because she has 360 million followers on Instagram, right? So that's a huge platform. When you have that many followers, like she could sell anything she wants. And if she made just like $1 profit on whatever it is, she could make $100 million overnight. So that is essentially a money printing machine that she owns. But the thing here is that we think we own our social media accounts, but we don't. Nobody does. The only people that own it are the actual CEOs of the companies themselves, right? So for Instagram, it's owned by Meta, right? So Meta owns all those 360 million followers. Meta owns Kylie Jenner's account. Meta could shut down her account whenever they want, just like they did to Trump, just like they did to Kanye or anybody else they want, right? So it's actually Mark Zuckerberg who owns Meta, who owns all of that information, right? So that's not a good place to be because you spend so much time building up this following and you don't even own it. And the reason that it's like this is because all of the data that we have is owned on Meta servers, right? Like when you upload anything onto Instagram, that picture is not hosted on your phone, it's hosted on the internet, right? And everything hosted on the internet is basically just on servers somewhere. And those servers cost money to run. It costs money to host them, it costs money to keep them on with electricity, it costs money to cool them down because they generate a lot of heat. So all of these servers are in data centers somewhere, and they cost millions of dollars to run every year. Meta owns those servers, which means they own all the data on those servers. So they use that data to show you advertisements, and that's how they make money to cover those costs. So how does crypto actually fix this, right? So the fundamental thing that you have to understand with crypto is that blockchains are the underlying technology between everything, right? So blockchains you can think of as a public cloud server, right? It doesn't belong to Meta. It doesn't belong to Microsoft. It's a public cloud server. It's like a public good, right? Like a national park, right? Anybody could go to it. The difference is that that public server has everything on it is encrypted. So if you want to, let's say I have my social media profile stored on the blockchain, and all the different interconnections between all my followers, like my social graph, right? Let's say I have 100,000 subscribers, and my connection to all of those 100,000 subscribers is called the social graph. You can think of it as like a contact list. So if that list is stored on the blockchain and encrypted, then I am the only one that can access it. Just like, I have the keys to unlock that encryption. Just like if you log into any of your accounts on a bank or Facebook or wherever, that is what encryption does. You put in a username, you put in a password, and it unlocks your information. That's how it would work on the blockchain. So you have your public key and your private key, and those two together unlock all of your information on this public server, which we call the blockchain. So if you own that information, then the way that this would work is, like, let's say you have Instagram, right? You don't like the way that the algorithm is presenting all this information to you, right? You have no choice over what you see and what you don't see. If Instagram wants to promote Reels, you just got to go with the flow. You can't go back to how Instagram used to be. But in a Web3 world where you own your data, any website could be built on top of the blockchain, and it's just a UI, right? Like a website could create the exact same look as Instagram, plug into the blockchain, and just display the information in a way that you want, right? So let's say you only like to see pictures and stuff like how Instagram used to show it to you. So what you would do is you go to a website, let's say it's called, I don't know, like Instagram, like oginstagram.com, right? So let's say that's a Web3 website. And on that website, you have your information that gets imported, your friends list and everything. And then you can actually display it however you want. And then that website will have its own algorithm for like how it wants to show who comes up first on your news feed, right? So like one website could have a news feed that promotes meaningful friendships with your friends, right? Another website could show the same information, but they use a different algorithm, right? Like they show you who is most likely to think you're attractive, right? So it would be more catered towards like single people and more towards like a dating website, right? But it would still look like Instagram. It would still feel like Instagram, and it would still import all of the data from a public server, right? Which is the blockchain. So I could be using one version of that. You could be using a different version of that, and we would still be able to talk to each other. We could still send DMs. We could still, interact with each other the same way as if we were on the same platform. And that's what that does. It creates interoperability. And this is huge because right now, when you're on Instagram and you built up a following of 370 million subscribers, that's it. You're locked in. You cannot go anywhere else. Because if you want to, let's say, import that to Twitter, well, you can't, right? Because they have different servers and they don't talk to each other. So you're kind of, once you pick a platform and you grow on that platform, you're locked into that platform, and that's what they count on, right? This is called network effects. They want you to be locked into their platform, and that's how we have a winner-take-all kind of economy. In a Web3 world, you would have like different platforms that all plug into the same database, and they compete for your attention, and you can choose the kind of platform that you want. You can choose the algorithm that you want to use. You'll just have a lot more choices. And if you don't like one platform, you can just go to a different one and it'll still work the same, right? And this is how it works for emails, right? Like if you have a Gmail address, it's not like you can only email Gmail addresses. You can email anybody. You can email people at Yahoo or AOL or wherever. And that's because all emails are built off of a open protocol called SMTP. Because it's built off of an open source protocol, you can just anybody could launch a new email application tomorrow and just get people to move from Gmail to that, right? And there's nothing stopping them. And that creates healthy competition. It creates innovation. It creates much more choices for the consumers. And when there's more competition, then the consumer wins. And that's why one of the best use cases for Web3 and crypto is social media. Another one is for music. So right now, the music industry is completely stacked against the artist, right? So when the artist creates new music, they create a thing called a master copy. The master copy, or the master record, is the ownership rights of that music, right? So like Taylor Swift recently had a huge feud with her previous management agency, right? Scooter Braun basically took all of her music and sold it to someone else because she didn't own it. All of the music that she previously made that generated hundreds of millions of dollars in royalties all went to him, and now they go to whoever owns the master copies. And so that is why we need a more fair solution, right? So what we can do in the music industry now is you mint your master copy, which is the ownership rights of that music. You mint it as an NFT. And that NFT grants you ownership rights of all the royalties that come in from that music. So let's say you have, let's say you're the next Taylor Swift, right? And you have 1,000 true fans. You launch your new album as an NFT, and you claim 50% ownership of it. Then the other 50% you break down into 50 different NFTs. Each NFT represents 1% ownership of the master copy, right? So now you have 50 NFTs that you can sell off to your fans, and your fans can buy it whenever for whatever price that you want, and you can build in a commission into that. So anytime your fans sell that NFT to someone else, then you get a 10% commission. And as you grow in popularity, those NFTs become more and more valuable, right? Because your fan base grows. And the fans also win because now they become, now they not only are they your fans, but they also become investors, right? So they're going to be promoting you everywhere they can. Because every time your music is used in a movie trailer or a commercial or on Spotify, wherever, every time it generates some sort of revenue, like royalty payments, 50% goes to you, and then 1% goes to each one of those NFTs. And so now as a fan, you can get passive income from investing in your favorite artists. And if you're good at spotting artists that are going to be really big, then that could become a career for you, right? You can just go and invest into artists and buy their NFTs early on, earn passive income along the way, and then resell it later when they become really popular. So it's like collecting, your favorite music. Right now, we can't do that because the music agencies basically take 90% of the ownership of the actual master copy. They collect all the revenue from the income from the royalty payments, and you as the artist have to now go and do show after show after show at concerts, sell merch, and whatever it is to make income for yourself, because you're not making income from the royalty payments. You're actually making income from selling out concerts. So you're still working for all of your art. you're not actually getting the lion's share of the benefits. So it's a broken system, and that's another reason why we need Web3. So these are the kinds of things that I look into when I actually want to invest into different companies or different projects, because those are the things that are going to change the game for everyone. So I think it makes a lot more sense to invest into crypto with this kind of framework as opposed to investing in dog coins, because that way you're just gambling your money away, and you might get lucky, but 99% of the people just will lose money on that bet. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.